we're going to be talking a little bit of something called GEO, and if you want to explain what that is, explain what you're doing specifically, and how you're helping clients in this new world we're creating here with AI and stuff.
So GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, that's the term being coined and is emerging. But also, there's people are saying AIO, Artificial Intelligence Optimization. But the goal is the same. Essentially, have you come across SE ranking as a company, Matt?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they did a phenomenal experiment. It was such a good experiment. So they did a large scale study. So across 10,000 keywords and 120,000 plus citations, just to understand how all this is working, how it's selecting the content, why some sites are appearing more often than others. Google AI Overview only hit the European market very recently. But it has taken the world by storm.
Well, I mean, it's useful. I even find myself not even getting past it a lot of times.
Yeah.
So just like
exactly. So what does that mean for businesses?
Yeah. Yeah, it means you need to figure it out. Hi, I'm Matt Levenhagen, founder of Unified Web Design, UnifiedLabs.ai, and the host of the Builders Podcast. Here on the Builders, our goal is to uncover the first principles behind building businesses, products, and services. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you're listening. And if you find value in our content, a like, share, or review is always appreciated. Let's dive in and explore the roots of innovation and progress together. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another The Builders. Today, we are joined by Stephen Wilson Downey. Welcome back to the show. This is your second time.
Yeah, thanks a million, Matt. A lot's changed since we last spoke. In all
for sure.
senses, yeah. But it's great to see the podcast get bigger and grow from strength to strength. So it's nice to take a trip down memory lane.
Yeah, so Stephen was on number 30. So I was just looking, we just released number 233. This will probably be, I don't even know what yours will be. Yours is probably going to be in the neighborhood of somewhere in the 240s once it releases. So it's been a while. It's been a minute. A couple other episodes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Stephen is the CEO now of Speire.
Correct.
Pronouncing that right?
Nailed it.
Speire. Great.
Nailed it. Yeah.
Great. And he is not a guru. He is just the CEO over there getting stuff done, right?
Exactly. I always get nervous when people apply those terms. I think, I'm a big believer in you're only as good as your last project, and change is always constant. And you're never going to be an expert in all things everything. There's always going to be blind spots. There's always going to be somebody who knows more than you. And I think the trick is just keep learning from them. The day you stop learning is the day you die in my books.
Exactly.
Happy to be doing just that.
Awesome. And just to get it, out of the way, let us know what's around your neck if somebody's watching on video. I thought he was strapped in. When I first saw him when he logged in, I thought he was strapped in or something. And
keys, don't worry, I'm not imprisoned or trapped anywhere. But, everywhere I'm going, there's always electronic locks. So I'm wearing what's effectively the human version of a dog collar with these keys so that I can move from room to room, nice and secure. But also, I got this lanyard over in the Formula One Grand Prix in Monza. I went there shortly after I got married with my wife, and it was definitely a great experience. But it's nice to carry around that memory every single day.
Nice. Grand Prix.
Yep.
That you're into that.
Love Formula One. It's a lot of people view it as a really boring sport, but there's a lot.
Is that the one they're going around in circles?
Well, in some instances, yes. But no, like it's essentially, it is a racing tournament. It's international, and they're moving from track to track, and the competitiveness is fierce between the teams, and it's become such a big thing. You know, there's so many facets to it. There's the engineering aspects of the car, the athletic performance of the drivers. They have to be incredibly strong and incredibly light. One of the drivers, George Russell, said that training up your neck, if you're moving around a corner at high speeds, 200 plus kilometers an hour, even more, you're multiplying the G's, so you have to be able to hold 5 to 6 times your head weight, so you're not being thrown around the cockpit.
Oh, wow.
And then there's the business side of it, you know, the sponsorship, the money, the politics, everything about it. If you're following all of that, I'm telling you, you will not be short of an interesting week in that sport.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. You don't think about all the different aspects of it that go into a race like that. And like, how did you get into it? Is it something you've always been interested? Oh, I know we're going off the rails already. But
no, you never know. We might end up on a Formula 1 podcast. How much I'm butchering the description of the sport. But I grew up with it on the television at home.
Okay. So you just kind of always had it.
Terrestrial TV, it was on. I was drawn to it. It was in the days of very famous driver Michael Schumacher driving for Ferrari, I got hooked, and then it kind of fizzled out while I was in my teens, and then in my early 20s I started watching it again, and couldn't stop. There was just so much going on.
Cool.
Even the team that I followed at the time went bust. So it's great. There's always something happening in that sport.
That's awesome to have something like that in your life, though. We're going to be talking about business today and what you've been all doing and stuff. But I always love to hear about what somebody else does on the side, whether it's music or some kind of sport they're into, or they either play or they're into. That type of thing. It's good to have those distractions and those other passions to balance your life out, right?
So important. You can't be switched on all the time. Burnout is a very real thing. With I'd say many guests on your podcast, and you have to be careful with it. So you need that outlet.
Yeah, I even struggle with it myself, especially when you're in business, you're having a hard time at the moment. It's very easy to just get like zoned in and just all you're thinking about is business all the time. But it's important to remember to step away and remember, have some fun somewhere, doing something. But anyway, so let's actually dive into what you've been doing since you were here a couple of years ago. I don't know what, let's say 200 episodes. 200 more episodes. That's at least, it's almost like 4 years.
Yes.
So you, at the time, you were developing something, or you were selling something at the time that was, but you're no longer doing that. What were you doing at the time?
Yeah. So I was building an AI product. It was a WordPress plugin to automate website maintenance and addressing the issue of, updating plugins, fixing conflicts in the staging area, and deploying and doing the visual comparison just in case anything was askew, encapsulating that whole area. And we got pretty far in terms of the technology itself, and including yourself, Matt. We had a few paid early adopters, a lot of lessons.
I tried it out. I took it first. Some test spins on my own website.
And no doubt it was slow. That was the issue, was the sheer management of the cloud resources on our side. How do we do this in a cost efficient way that was affordable for web developers on a per site pricing model? And it got to the point where, yes, it was running the updates, but there was one early adopter who said, it did it after a period of 3 weeks, because we were essentially breaking things down bit by bit where we weren't using too much cloud resources. at any given time to keep the cost of running the model very, very efficient. And that project was born out of Speire. We set up Speire first, and we started off building websites. And it was starting to really, really grow at a rapid pace. And we made the call and just said, look, we can spend another year or two developing this technology, still spending time in the risk area where market adoption and return on investment, we couldn't foresee how long that would take, versus a company that was growing customer by customer quite rapidly. So we decided, let's just double down on Speire. Maybe we'll come back to Ape. And we started developing bespoke software solutions, bespoke AI models for a couple of years. And while we found that space very, very interesting, and particularly within the realm of software development, although the project's a bit bigger, the money's bigger, so are the problems. And we were looking at our competition in the space as well, within the discipline of artificial intelligence. And in terms of skill sets, we were competing with the likes of Dell, Google, MasterCard for the talents that we needed. And there was no hope in hell at this point that we could match the salary offerings that they were putting out there into the market. So what did we do? What was already going well for us in terms of our array and suite of services, digital growth was perfectly fine. We were doing search engine marketing, we were doing meta ads in co-alignment with website development. Digital transformation as well was an element of it, where if you are requiring to hook your website up to a system that you use in-house, we were getting some really interesting projects there. And yeah, fast forward to today, while we still work within the realm of AI in an advisory and consultancy capacity, I think the experience of those two disciplines overlapped really nicely with the, I suppose, the surge of change, particularly this year, in search engine optimization, search engine marketing, even social media advertising. A lot of people changing the way they search, using more AI models, even Google AI Overview. The rules are changing, and nobody has all of the answers. But one thing's for sure, the traffic, website visits, businesses need to rethink their strategy there, and ourselves within the industry included. That's where it's going, and we're big believers in keeping up with the pace of change.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and being agile to adapt.
Right. That's a great lesson. So go kind of circling back a little bit. So through that, it was kind of interesting. You were kind of doing AI before the whole ChatGPT boom, and that blew everything up. You were already kind of and that was on the side, because I remember when it would do updates, it would do like visual comparisons and stuff. And that's where the AI came in to kind of help map the vision.
Yeah.
It was very cool stuff. I mean, there had to have been a lot of great lessons that came out of it. I mean, do you regret going down that path, or, you must have validated the idea of we think this is a good direction to go, but then, like many things, unexpected things come out of that, like it doesn't scale well, or it doesn't, or you have all these other issues. You can't hire somebody because you're gonna have to pay them $200,000 a year or something. So, I mean, was it a good experience? Are there things you learned there that you are applying going forward, or?
Today, with hindsight, no regrets. was were the problems that we were experiencing at the time really horrible? Yes, they were very stressful situations. But they were the most powerful lessons. They were really, in terms of resilience and persistence, they were really defining situations for us as well. And I do talk to other business owners, and I do have a few mentors, but the most reassuring phrase that I've always heard and I keep it at the back of my head whenever I'm having a bad day is they say, "Well, I've seen a lot worse." So right. Yeah, but any time that we've gone through a huge challenge, our growth surges out the other side in terms of our business model. You know, we're correcting as we go, day in, day out, always sharpening our whatever we're doing. In like today, yes, it's our service delivery, making sure that we're keeping up with the trends and continuing to deliver value. But I'd be lying to you today to say that things haven't gone wrong and projects haven't gone wrong. They absolutely have. But what matters most is what you're doing in that situation to manage the relationship with the customer and making sure that you're making things right coming out the other side, and that's where that matters the most. When
I ask that, it's like, because you hear that all the time, like, oh, failure is a good thing. You know, as long as, or if you fail, as long as you learn the lessons. But this is actually real world. This is like, you do feel like you did learn some hard lessons. Yes, at the time, they're always terrible. I have in my own business, I have those moments. If I didn't have one this year, a pretty big one, big lessons, but you, like you said, you come out the other end, hopefully in better shape. You learned, you're applying those things, and you'll do better. You'll continue to do better. And that sounds like your experience.
Yeah. And yeah, like even this year, we're way ahead of last year. Like we're into our 250th job as we speak, probably on track to maybe close between 450 jobs by the end of the year.
Wow.
And yeah, a lot of volume. But the bedrock of what we do is relationships, making sure that we're communicating as clearly as we possibly can, and delivering value. That's the biggest thing, you know.
Yeah.
As long as the customer is looking at their retainer or their project with you, and they're experiencing a return on investment or value, that's the sweet spot right there. Nothing else matters.
Yeah, it's interesting. And values different for everybody in every situation, whatever. You know, like I think of like, retainers I have with clients and stuff, and they're pretty, you know, some of them can be pretty large.
Yeah.
But it's like they're getting the value from it though, because they keep paying every month. Yeah. And as long as you're communicating what you're doing for them, and that, you know, translates to them staying in business or their website not crashing or their whatever you're doing for them, it's good. But so the transition, how was that transition? So you were already doing Speire. You were already doing Speire, and it's before you started that project. So you came out of it and you just tripled down on Speire and just kind of went off, continued to do what you always did.
Yeah, we were effectively running two companies. And there was a variety of factors in why we took that approach. Number one was we wanted to protect our organic company. We started on €5. That's European for dollars. And we organically grew customer by customer. Last thing we wanted was to get an investor in that isn't 100% aligned with the interests of the customer, and we wanted to kind of protect that. So we spun the technology project out into another company, and that's where all the fundraising was done.
Gotcha.
And we wanted to protect the customers we already had, and Yeah, I think looking back on it, that was a really important decision, a very important decision on many aspects, and it turned out to be a very good decision.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's even like looking at what I do with our agency. I have these side projects, these experiments, things I do on the side. I got an idea. I have unified plugins, which is, a suite of plugins that we developed over the last number of years. And but it sits as a side project, as an experiment. And we hope to actually, do something with that at some point.
Yeah.
But it's not going to affect I think it kind of supports our agency from the perspective, hey, look at what we did. We can build plugins. We can do this thing over here. But if we never made any sales with with those products, it's not going to affect the agency. That's protected. It's a completely separate gig.
I think, I think a lot of business owners would agree with this as well, is that you're a problem solver and that's where ideas are born. It's very, very hard to resist the urge to go after it. In January this year, I bought a few domains that I'll probably do nothing with. But
I have that sickness too.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's nature versus nurture, really. I think the nurture part is having the discipline not to distract yourself too much from the main entity.
Right. And like you said, I think you mentioned once or twice already, like you want to stay up with, the innovations and or what's happening in the industry or in the world,
Yes.
like with AI and stuff. And, you might spin off an idea, or you might have an idea, you think about it and like, maybe not, maybe we'll do it. Maybe we'll do it later. But if you're a true entrepreneur, if you're somebody that loves doing this stuff, you're going to always have ideas. But sometimes it's just like figuring out which ones to chase after, which one to spend some time on, experiment, and which ones to maybe ignore. Maybe that wasn't a good idea. But protecting the core though, protecting that, once you build I feel like once you build something, once you build that one thing, then you can do these other experiments a lot easier. You have a base income or a base revenue stream or whatever you want to call it. And that allows you to do these other things, which is cool. So when you went back, so now it's kind of interesting that you were in the AI stuff already. You already have that experience. And what was your reaction to ChatGPT coming out and everything happening there, and how did that affect the actual agency itself and what you guys started focusing on, and what did that look like?
I really enjoyed it in beta. So the first thing that I absolutely loved was created a sarcastic customer support chatbot, which essentially is, when you're asking the question, you're inconveniencing them, and they're being really
Nice.
in their answers. And that was my beta experience with ChatGPT, and I loved it. Or there was another thing where it was like, create a horror story in 3 sentences. Like, I really enjoyed the large language model and the really good work it did. The rate of adoption in terms of how quickly it happened did surprise me. But in terms of it being adopted into everyday life, that didn't surprise me in the slightest. OpenAI, they did a ferocious amount of work, and then you've got other great platforms like Perplexity, Claude, and actually DeepSeek was also a very impressive one. But essentially, this is just another industrial revolution, really, isn't it? Like, if you compare it back to the spinning Jenny, that didn't get rid of jobs, that created more. This is going to do the exact same thing. It's just changing the way people work, and in a lot of disciplines, it's probably changed how people need to deliver their offerings, where they might have to take on a higher volume of jobs because they can now do everything that little bit faster, and they have to be more competitive on price. And you know, I think if you're not going to adapt to that change and you're going to be set in your old ways, I don't know how that's going to pan out. But I think if there's one thing that's constant in this world, it's change, and you have to lean into it and do your best to adapt with the knowledge and the skills that you have. And if you don't, you go and find them.
Quick pause to give a shout out to the sponsors of the Builders Podcast, Unified Web Design and UnifiedLabs.ai. At Unified Web Design, we specialize in crafting custom websites and offering complete design and development solutions to help businesses build a strong, lasting online presence. Now, through UnifiedLabs.ai, a project I'm really excited about, we're helping businesses tap into the power of AI and automation, designing smarter systems, streamlining operations, and building practical tools that actually work. From audits to implementation, we help brands navigate the AI landscape with clarity and confidence. Whether you need a custom website or you're ready to explore how AI can transform your workflows, visit unifiedwebdesign.com and unifiedlabs.ai. Now back to our show. It's actually interesting what you just said, like, you know, we're going to be able to do things faster. So there's going to be this expectation we can do more for less. And I was just talking to somebody, hopefully it wasn't you. I talked to a lot of people, but I was talking to somebody and he said that basically that was the issue that he either sees coming or is experiencing, where there, even though like on that programming side, and you probably know this, like on the, you know, using cursor or other tools to build stuff, in terms of how it's marketed and how it's talked about and everything else, is game changing. Everyone's vibe coding and everything's going to be lickety split. The problem is the customer, the client, gets that message and they start to have that expectation. Well, you can do everything faster now, so let me, you know, throw more at you, or, you know, get it for cheaper and all this. But the reality of it, though, it's not quite that good.
Exactly.
Vibe coding isn't the beautiful thing that we, you know, the bill of goods that we've been sold. You are, maybe from a co-pilot perspective or assisted, AI assisted programming, but really you're still doing a lot of editing. If you have something, you can't just say, hey, go build this thing for me and describe it in a few words, and it's going to just build it like that, and a whole app for you, a whole website for you. There's a lot more that we need to still do. We still need to understand the code, still validate that code, and still you make sure it's secure. It's not exposing all the keys, whatever it's going to do. But you still, you know, so there's still, and I was just talking to somebody, they had some stats where there was, I don't know what the programmers were doing, but they were like thinking they were saving time, but the reality was they were actually taking more time to build stuff. Yeah. If you want to speak to that, what are your thoughts around that?
I'd be the first to admit that I have made many attempts at programming since the age of 16, and I've accepted that I'm rubbish. But it has allowed me to develop a perspective on what my colleagues are faced with in terms of building and developing, and it's quite useful to I suppose translate that between the client and the developer. But certainly, I think you hit the nail on the head there, where the perceived ability of AI is overhyped. So it is a tool. It's not a creator. So, and I think people should respect that capability of where it's at right now. My colleagues are very, very naturally skeptical about these silver bullet tools. And I think rightly so. The last thing you want to do is, if you're leading into automating some element of what you do, it had better deliver the same, if not better. And I think as long as your mindset is within that space, you'll start to naturally weed out what is a good solution versus what isn't. good solution.
Yeah.
In terms of, from what I can see in the coding and the programming side of things, it still has a very long way to go. Certainly it can make tasks easier, but in terms of building stuff, very long way off.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can talk about context windows or understanding full large code bases and all that. Like it's all contextual. Like there are certain things that does speed up. There's things. Just the other day, I did I was fixing an issue with Shopify. There was some issue with the metapixel. It was not loading and it wasn't working on the thank you page. I figured out it was the pixel wasn't fully loading before. It was a custom event. The custom event was not loading after the pixel loaded, so it wasn't working, right? So I had to create a little function to fix that issue. Well, I could have wrote that code, but I gave it to ChatGPT, and like 5 seconds later, I had that code, dropped it in, it worked. That saved me 2 or 3 times, the time. But add that up across dozens or hundreds of tasks and stuff like that. So those little things do add up.
Exactly.
It's just a larger project. It's all contextual. For content, it works the same way. So
it's essentially exactly. It is a tool, and if we stick with that use case that you just described there, you were still checking the output.
Yeah. Right. Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And
you still have to be present.
Yeah. And also, that input there, whatever you were getting it to produce in relation to other tasks, I would bet that it doesn't require a whole lot of thought. It's just the doing of it. And essentially, I think that's what AI is perfect for. Those simple tasks that don't require a whole pile of thought. Just doing it.
Well, right.
I think where it's at now.
Yeah, and even if you're like building a landing page or something like that, excuse me, you break it down into sections. Like that's how I've been using it. Like building out a landing page or whatever is okay. So here's a screenshot of this because it can understand screenshots. It can understand the problem and it can build it out roughly, and then you fine tune it. Then you always got to iterate on it a little bit. But even for that, that Shopify example, I was telling it what I needed because I already knew what I needed, right? I have the experience. I know what I need to do. I know I have to troubleshoot it first. I know I need some console logging, right? I need but it could do that for me. It could write those console logs and say, okay, and update that code so those will output so I could figure out what's going on here, like why, and that's how I figured it out. But it's those little things. Anyway, we're going in the weeds there a little bit. But okay, so let's get back to what you're doing specifically. So you're not coding every day like I am over here. But you're actually what's that?
I'm the businessman.
You're the businessman.
Yeah.
So I got you, and you're outside your wheelhouse a little bit here, so I apologize. But
no, it's all good. I still have enough to go on, but it's all good.
No, it's good. I'm always curious, just your overall. Obviously you work with people that are doing these things, and you're in the mix. And I was curious what your thoughts were and what the experience was, that transition from an AI guy that saw the ChatGPT and then saw all this happening and where we're at today. But you specifically what do you do for clients? Let's start there. We're going to be talking a little bit of something called GEO. And if you want to explain what that is, explain what you're doing specifically and how you're helping clients in this new world we're creating here with AI and stuff.
So GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, that's the term being coined and is emerging. But also, there's people are saying AIO, Artificial Intelligence Optimization. But the goal is the same. Essentially, questions are being asked into these models, especially in voice search, and your business is going to have to be the answer. So the big change this year, and I think everybody universally has seen a dip in performance in their organic rankings plus the ad campaigns, and that is no coincidence. The emergence of ChatGPT being utilized in a greater fashion at more top funnel activities versus people who were previously would have Googled. The marketing element in terms of digital growth has become more holistic. So it's not website plus ads anymore. It is much more than that. So
yeah, and just to interject here, like, I can confirm that I like talking to a lot of agencies. What you just said, they're all experiencing, like, the traffic's changing lower.
big time.
Everything's being impacted for sure. And you're saying that it's because they're searching differently. They're using different tools. They're using open Perplexity or whatever they're using out there.
Absolutely.
To search. Yeah.
Yeah. And Google AI overviews. Huge addition where, blue links aren't being clicked on, both sponsored and organic, because they've already gotten the answer. And the additions that Google are bringing in to their AI functions, some pretty good ones. You're going to start experiencing personalized shopping feeds and things like that. But where people really need to focus, in my opinion, is on the signals that you're putting out there. And I think even if we take the change in SEO, while it's still a component of it, keyword research, the task is expanded now. You're going to have to be researching the questions being asked. And then you're going to have to be vetting the responses and where they're getting the sources of the information from. If you're looking at ChatGPT, you can see the model citing the sources as it goes and seeing where it's getting its information from. You're going to have to consider putting your own information about your business within there. What's also really interesting is the video content that's being picked up on. Like, there was a statistic I saw, and I couldn't believe it when I saw it. It was 2 months ago when I read this, but like, in some cases, Perplexity with its prompts, it was almost, in some periods, as high as 70% of their citations were coming from YouTube. And
oh, wow.
They were coming from YouTube videos that were with uploaded transcripts. So it was lifting the information from the transcript. But essentially, if you think about it, you do need to break down the content into your pillars. The channel coverage, your owned channel, which would be your website, the AI assistant, which is a mix of all the channels mentioned. Your search, Google Bing, YouTube search, Google My Business, Apple Business Connect, even to the maps and the ratings, getting your business credentials in there, Trustpilot, because the answers that are going to be pushed back to the user inputting the prompts, they need to be credible and they need to be of high quality. Reddit has done very well out of this situation. You saw a lot of, I suppose, a bit of a dip in the quality of organic Google rankings from the user perspective, because everybody was churning out AI generated content with keywords inputted, and in terms of context and value, wasn't really hitting what the user was looking for. So they did this deal with Reddit, where they would start to share the information, but also from a behavior perspective, you saw users who were inputting search terms into the search engine and tacking on Reddit at the end so that they could hook in the Reddit answers, because they were looking for the latest, most credible information to solve their problem or answer their question.
And people think Reddit's that source that's most credible.
So, like, Reddit is essentially, I'm going to oversimplify Reddit here, but it is a forum, but it's hooking in a lot of credible sources. Like, the community on Reddit really care about the topics that they're discussing, and they really, really care about authenticity, accuracy, it's self-moderated, it's user-moderated. So, you know, if you're posting garbage into Reddit, the users are going to kill it.
So it's kind of curated by the actual users in the community. And,
which is very valuable. And that's your community pillar. You know, you've got Quora, you've got Blogger, you know, lots of evidence-based contributions, answers to questions, like social and short form video is also being picked up. You know, LinkedIn, X, Threads, Instagram, which is also being factored into Google rankings lately. But, you know, the content that you're going to be pushing in there, it's not promotional that they're going to be looking at. It's answers to questions, how-tos, why the product that you have based on evidence is one of the best that's out there. And then for your deeper level content, your streaming channels, your long form YouTube content, LinkedIn live webinars as well. So, you know, you're deep diving into a subject matter relevant to your product or service. And then, of course, PR. So PR has become much more important again, where your industry trade journals, online magazines, online newspapers, really credible sources. What these engines, from what I've seen so far, my research, is they're looking for quality answers for the input of queries, because that's where the market share is going to come from.
So in the engines or the I guess we can call them engines. I just call them engines, but the chat bots,
large language models,
large language models, LLMs, yep.
Yeah.
So but they're really good at finding this information. They basically have become, they crawl the web as well now.
They do.
They index this information and they pull it dynamically.
Yeah, it's that great way of putting it. They pull it dynamically. Correct. Like from everything that I've read and seen so far, and the tests that I have run with some of my own projects, it searches the web on your behalf, you know, and that's only going to get better and better. So a really good way of putting it is the content that you're putting out there is no longer just for the human anymore. It needs to be curated and tailored for machines, and it needs to be easy for machines to pick up, and the structure needs to be very clear. So a lot of social media marketers will take issue with me saying this, but I certainly believe in it as a tactic. If you're uploading really high quality content that's answering a true query that's being posted in the likes of ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever is their preferred model, if you're posting that across all your channels, even where your market doesn't really hang out, so, you know, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and you're uploading this video material along with the text-based material with captions, you're sending out those signals, and you're basically allowing yourself to be picked up by the machine. You know, we're rolling out our own generative engine optimization campaign for our own brand. We are going to be posting on TikTok. Are buyers active in that? No, they're selling on it, but
you're doing it for the bot. You're doing it for the
correct. So the more credible signals that you are sending to or putting out there will be a better way of putting it. The more likely you are to be featured as an answer. And there's two tools that I've found so far. Haven't tested them yet, but like falconrank.ai is one that I've just looked at recently, and scrunch.ai, like that's the new keyword research. In co-alignment with what you're already doing traditionally for search engine optimization. So, you know, you're getting a sense of what the market's looking for, your relevance to it, and even testing it yourself, asking those questions yourself, seeing what sources they're coming and citing.
Right.
But the thing that to be mindful of is have you come across SE ranking as a company, Matt?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they did a phenomenal experiment. It was such a good experiment. So they did a large scale study. So across 10,000 keywords and 120,000 plus citations, just to understand how all this is working, how it's selecting the content, why some sites are appearing more often than others, and they I suppose in short, and I'm going to quote directly from their bullet points here, like AI mode is not stable at all, that only 9.2% of the links were consistent across all tests. So, the content that you're producing out there needs to stay visible, relevant, and present, not just once, but constantly. So that's why I suppose what is going to be really important is that you're going to have to be putting out the content regularly, but it needs to stay up to date. It needs to stay sharp, and it needs to stay on top of the latest trend of whatever industry that you're in, because that's essentially what the users are looking for. I think only 14% of the AI overview citations overlapped with the organic top 10 websites that were ranking very, very well for organic SEO. So being on page 1 isn't as important as it used to be when it comes to Google AI overviews. So it's, the change is seismic. And the pattern that they saw, which I found really interesting, was, and this was specifically to the Google AI overview, was they were rarely citing the same source twice. I think it was less than 10% came up 2 to 3 times. So,
well, I wonder if that's purposeful, or like they're testing those things, and because that you can see them like split testing, or maybe that's just how the model works. It just like randomly does it. It randomizes it so much that it's just like every time it's a little different.
Yeah, it is hard to know.
Yeah.
Like today, I don't have an answer for that. What my hypothesis would be is that maybe it's a relevancy element to the algorithm, the way it's working, that some queries have a different angle of relevancy than others. Maybe, but we'll have to see. And this emergence, Google AI Overview only hit the European market very recently, but it has taken the world by storm.
Well, I mean, it's useful. I even find myself not even getting past it a lot of times.
Yeah,
so just like
exactly. So what does that mean for businesses?
Yeah, it means you need to figure it out. That's for sure. But this is great. I mean, I think some of the things you blocked out here, and I love that you call it signals. If we're talking to somebody that's listening to this and they have a business and they're experiencing their traffic is like dipped this year, and which it probably has. What are the actions they can take? Now you talked about signals, so this is what I'm getting from you. This is what I'm gonna kind of spit it back at you.
Yeah.
But the many signals, like try getting on multiple platforms, from social media to YouTube to on your website as well, I would imagine, and then just providing the extra layers of data like transcripts and captions and those things. I even spent some time a few weeks back adding facts to my website, and in schema.
Yeah.
To make it easier for the bots to consume it. So those things, keeping it fresh. So being consistent and always giving it, updated stuff here, and then thinking and at the core of it and underlying all that is understanding how people are prompting and what questions they're asking to get and so your content in this new world has to answer questions.
Exactly. Your business has to be the answer. Your product has to be the answer, or your service has to be the answer. And if you go down to the traditional roots of business, your whole entire existence is the solution of a problem. That's a big undertaking for many businesses. Marketing has become, in the digital world, has become much more holistic now. If you asked me 2.5 years ago, you could be more selective on your channels. But right now, with what's going on and the evidence that I've come across so far, yes, you have to be consistent across many channels here. And that's difficult. If I can compile it into a process, you begin with the customer, who's buying from you, and just map out all the, I call them ICPs, ideal customer profiles. And then you look at the topics that they're, I suppose, where their awareness is at most, and you start to, cluster. What is it that they'll be asking about this? What is it that they're trying to learn about this? What is it that they're trying to solve here? And then you move into your channel selection, where, yes, the volume of channels has increased, but you can be very clever with your content. I'm sure you've come across EAT as a term, EEAT.
I don't know if I have.
So,
What's EAT?
I'm going to bring up Google's definition of it, so I don't want to butcher it on their behalf. But so the EEAT is experience, expertise, authoritiveness, and trustworthiness. So it's the framework that they're using to assess quality of content on websites. So previously, yes, if you're selling something, the relevancy to what's being bought, the content needed to be somewhat promotional, so that they can pick up that you're selling something here that somebody's looking for, particularly if you're running an ad campaign with landing pages that need to be relevant to the AdWords that you're paying for. But for here, what they're looking for here is credibility. So they're looking for your authority in your domain, why you have the expertise and the experience. And I mentioned the likes of Trustpilot earlier. That is being lifted. I mentioned maps. There's more than Google Maps out there where these models are lifting from. And that's where they can really nail the localization of what you're doing. So that's the other signal there. But if you're applying EAT to as a principle to all of your content, then you're providing the framework that the algorithms are looking for to be able to provide the answer to the question being asked.
So I have a question for you. Are you saying, besides asking, building the content, asking, answering questions, all that good stuff, is the people want to call it algorithm, been around for a while, the LLMs, are they able to are they pulling data that is taking into consideration your authority in terms of how you're showing up? Or are you on Trustpilot, getting reviews there and positive? Are you all these other things? Because I asked that because it's interesting. I had done a search a while back on ChatGPT that freaked me out a little bit. And my wife looked at it and said that was creepy, but she's not in the biz. But I said, what do you know about Matt Levenhagen? Yeah. And it came back with a complete breakdown of who I am, what I do, what my expertise is. So I'm doing something right. But it knew my whole business, what I, even unified web design, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. And this is what he's focused on. This is how he helps people. Mm-hmm. I'm like, whoa. So I think having that footprint and that's a good test, right? What does it know about your business? It might not be asking about your name, but it might be, what do you know about your whatever your business name is. That could be a good test to see if it then is it taking that into consideration, your kind of your footprint, your bio, when it's recommending things, because you're now an expert.
So a good approach, like, it certainly is helpful to ask how much it knows about you in a general sense, but you have to think about what signals you yourself have put out there, and across how many different channels. That's where it's lifting it from. And I suppose it's are you happy with the answer to the questions being asked in terms of your service offering, because that's where it's going, even with the growth in voice search, that people are viewing this technology as an assistant. So it's, find me a list of 5 suppliers that does X, or what are the best shoe brands for a narrow foot. That's the kind of stuff that people need to be thinking about when they're doing their topic clustering. But yeah, I suppose, not to digress too much, where I think there's a lot of value to be added here is, the top of funnel activities. You're going to have to be really clever with how often and how fresh your answers are going to be. And a way of doing that is, let's take SEO ranking as an example, as a company and what they've been doing, along with Search Engine Journal. Like, they're 2 great companies that are really on top of this. And what they're doing is studies. So, some of the things I cited to you earlier from their study, that was a Reddit post. And that was surfacing in ChatGPT and Perplexity. But that was certainly their EAT content. So they ran a test. They showed a glimpse into the sampling strategy. So if you're surveying, if you're interviewing, if you're getting on trend, credible answers to the question being asked, and you're at the forefront of it, and it's the latest answer, and it's satisfying all this criteria, then you're on a really good footing to being featured. And that's what this is all about. It's not entirely about being found anymore. It's about getting mentioned.
About getting mentioned. Okay.
And
yeah,
I don't think anyone has all of the answers to that today. It's still quite an emerging industry, but I think people are starting to adapt now in terms of people in our space and agencies, and and
it'll continue to evolve too. It's just like the algorithm, like having a search background myself, that was out, like every few months there was some tweak that would break something or change something, and it's always going to. But with these models, the reason why I asked that in the context of my search for my own name, it's like I feel like it's almost beyond the traditional search algorithm, where it understood the search results and ranked things based on content and keywords and other factors. But now I feel like these models must, on the fly, can have a much deeper understanding of the source of that income, of the source of that content. But and like just understand like the authority behind it, like you're talking about, which is fascinating.
And EAT is not brand new. It's been around for quite a while.
I don't know why I'm sure I've heard of it. It's been around for a while. But for some reason it didn't.
Anybody who's like really, really deep into the copywriting element of SEO will know about it. But certainly it's risen to prominence in terms of how everyone should be producing their content as of today.
Becoming more important now.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to stop us there because we could talk. I feel like the hour flew by.
We did about 100 episodes about this. Yeah.
But But yeah, we have to have an excuse for you to come back to eventually. We'll talk more about stuff.
Well, yeah, I think
as things evolve.
What a good suggestion would be is once I've done a good few projects under this realm and what we've found in our findings, absolutely happy to jump on and share them. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, it's a rapidly evolving situation here. So, but anyway, so Stephen, Wilson Downey. If somebody wants to learn more about what you do specifically, like what I don't know why I'm not, what your agency does, and I was going to try to pronounce it again. I'm not going to try. But what your agency does, what you do, where do you hang out? Are you on LinkedIn? Where's your home on the World Wide Web if somebody wanted to message you?
So yeah, our new website's under development, but yeah, you can certainly reach out to us there. But LinkedIn, yeah, 100%. I'm on there every day. But awesome. I'm starting to practice what I preach. I'm going to be on almost every channel. You
got to do that. You got to do that. That's important.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us again. Us. I can't talk all of a sudden. We've been talking too long. But it's great having you. Until next time.
Yes. Pleasure. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Builders Podcast. One more quick note about our sponsors. At Unified Web Design, we're passionate about doing better together, partnering with agencies and businesses to deliver exceptional web design, development, and ongoing support. And UnifiedLabs.ai is where we explore smart, practical ways to integrate AI directly into your website and e-commerce flows. From intelligent chatbots to marketing automation to back-end reporting, all with a strong focus on user experience and making your systems work smarter. If you haven't already, subscribe or follow to stay updated on future episodes. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, sharing it with someone who might benefit helps us grow this amazing community. Until next time, keep building smarter, bolder, and with purpose.